Welcome to Caleb Can't Read. I'm Jordan Rabel.
My government name is Nicole Rabel.
Yeah. And, well, Caleb is pretty much just, like, done with this. He was just like, I just don't care.
That's fine.
That's
People
fine.
move on with their lives.
But I do still have Caleb news. He almost fucking died. But not in, like, a fun, like, job way.
Caleb.
I mean, usually he's, like, in danger because he's an arborist and he'll, like, fucking get crushed by a tree or some shit. But lately, he was, like, packing for a camping trip or something.
Did he allow you to share this story?
Huh?
Did he allow you to share this story,
I told him I was gonna, because it's just the
boy.
dumbest shit. He fucking, he tried packing away a
He's the
knife.
patron saint of this podcast.
He tried packing away a knife for a camping trip into like a plastic sheath or something, and it just wasn't going in. So rather than like, I don't know, making sure that the passageway was clear or literally anything else, he had the sheath, like the bottom of it, in his fucking hand, and he was pressing into the sheath as hard as he fucking could, and the sheath split in two, and he stabbed the knife into his fucking hand. What he told me is that it was like a bubbler, but with blood coming out of his hand, and he was like,
Christ.
"Oh no, I gotta drive myself to the fucking hospital." And then he started getting real woozy. He had to have somebody else drive him to the hospital, and he fucking nicked an artery, so he got some stitches after giving himself a fucking Paul Mussy. After he almost died cleaning his room. That's why he never does it. Fucking dumbass.
I can only laugh about it because he's fine now.
I can't, I haven't seen him since that incident that happened last week, but like as soon as I see him, I hope he forgets. I'm gonna dap him up. Just like, my boy. Ah!
No, don't split his artery stitches. Jesus. Do you know how expensive hospital trips are?
He's got a city job. It's fine.
Yeah, okay. He makes more than us.
Well, it's not that wasn't a very good segue into this, but
No,
actually you came back from France. That's kind of a segue into this.
Oh,
how'd you
God.
like it?
France.
Yeah, you had a
We're
fucking...
gonna work on it. We're gonna talk about a French person.
Yeah, I know, right? It's fucking disgusting. It's a fucking piece of shit. But hey,
It was really hot. Well, there you go. It's global warming. They'll tell you it's not real, but then, you know, everybody in all of Europe is frying.
But I cannot have an AC. It does not blow piss in my face. Yeah. No, it sounds like you had a good time just fucking shopping. That's all that you did.
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay. So, yes, there was like hella deals.
It was like a girls' trip to fucking celebrate your sister
France.
graduating, like, at
My
least
mother
one
retiring.
school. Your mother retiring.
My cousin's first trip to France.
You
I'm
just
still
being
alive
a piece of
somehow.
shit and just wanting to tag yourself on.
I'm alive.
Let's celebrate. Yeah, I guess.
So, yeah, I bought shoes and bags, and they were all deeply discounted despite being 100% leather.
Oh man, you really saved money giving that guy hundreds of dollars. You see, the joke's on them because they're really losing money by collecting your hundreds of dollars. Anyway, let's get started, shall we?
You. Oh, I will say, I did not expect Marie Antoinette's Hamlet.
Oh yeah,
at Versailles.
We've gone to Versailles
to
like
look
two
like
times
a
before.
Disneyland ride facade.
Yeah, we've gone to Versailles a couple times before, and every time we just don't have time to go. Like, if you go to like the corner of the property, there's like a fucking poor cottage that she made herself.
Because that place is fucking huge.
Yeah, but she wants to cosplay what it's like being a poor person.
Yes.
On her huge fucking acres
and it
of
was
land.
like built to function properly. Like they had vegetables growing still.
But
and there was like a functioning mill and shit.
I was expecting it to be like a hovel. And then the pictures
Yeah,
you sent me back,
no.
it looks like something out of like the Wild West corner of fucking Disneyland. Like it's a
Exactly.
well put together house,
Like,
just with quote unquote
why
poor
would-
aesthetic.
Jordan, there was a reason they were beheaded.
Yeah.
They had absolutely no idea what being
But
poor
she was so
really
young.
like.
She didn't do anything. She hoarded the wealth.
She was still complicit in a system that mistreated the working class.
She is truly the Taylor Swift of her day. Well, let's get started, shall we? Also, I'd like to add, it wasn't one cottage. It was a small fucking village so
was.
that she
I
had
was
several
expecting
she had several servants living to be poor with
little
her.
cottage.
Yeah.
And then,
that
oh
bitch.
shit, there's a fake lighthouse with a little boat attached.
That's
A
such
gardener's hut that they turned into bathrooms.
What a fucking piece of shit.
A little
hang on, I gotta grab
cottage for the architect that built it. And then a McMansion.
Yeah. Oh no, Jesus Christ, I'm sorry.
You're going to spill all our drinks places that they ought not be spilled.
Thanks for the heads up.
Well, it's on our setup is a cramped
Our-
little table with the fucking
Our house
recording
looks nice,
equipment.
but this is all IKEA. All
Like,
right.
it's just gonna liquids and electronics don't mix, babe.
Well, Jules Gabriel Verne was born February 8th, 1828, in Nantes, France, to his mother Sophie and his father Pierre. The first of 5 children. While his father Pierre worked in a law office, his mother, while herself only a housewife, came from a family filled with navigators and shipbuilders, which seemed to capture the young Jules' attention from an early age. When he was 6, Jules Verne would attend school under the tutelage of an old widow named Madame Sambin. According to Madame Sambin,
Sim salabim.
shut up, her husband was a naval captain who disappeared at sea 30 years prior, though she believed, or at least told the children, that he was still alive somewhere on a deserted island.
That's what I would tell people.
Why?
Well, no, not that part, but like, if I just wanted to be a single woman back then.
Oh, tell him something mysterious.
Exactly, because back then it was easy to just fucking get away with a lie. Like, you know what? I'm tired of my life. Let me go to the next town over where they don't know me.
Yeah, no,
Literally,
reality.
like, a 5-mile journey from my original living spot. I don't know.
Yeah.
My original town.
The
Sorry.
reality is he probably shit himself to death. Like, that
Yeah,
just happens.
yeah.
Isn't it kind of funny? We've got a diarrhea bug going around right now with other politicians that need to be beheaded
What
right
do you
before a fucking
know?
revolution
You
happens.
know,
Anyway,
regulations are written in blood, or in this case, shit.
I'll write new regulations regardless.
Yeah.
Now, it's possible that she really did believe this, but more likely, she was leaning into the success of these types of stories among children in what were called Robinsonades. Named after...
Like Robinson Crusoe.
Yes.
I was worried I was going to get the name wrong.
named after Robert Crusoe.
Robert Crumbs.
Named after the classic tale Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe, whom we covered in episode 35.
Is he related to Willem Dafoe?
Nope. The story had released a little over 100 years prior in 1719. However, the story was such a success that it culminated in a lot of impersonators over the years, including a man named Johann David Weiss, whom we covered in episode 36, who wrote The Swiss Family Robinson. I fucking hated that book so much. His book...
I love the old-timey Disney movie, or at least the clips that I
That's
remember
fine.
from my youth, where
You're
they're
allowed
just like,
to.
oh, we're riding an ostrich. How charming.
Dude, okay, that's the thing. This magical island had all manner of animals. It had no realism to it, and which is fine, but like...
I want realism in my deserted island fantasy story. And
fucking Robinson Crusoe was, and it was great.
Okay.
Fucking Swiss Family Robinson, no realism, like a fucking 800 pages. Hated
Have
it.
you ever read fan fiction? Because that's essentially that.
No. Now, no, Johann David
Actually,
Weiss.
technically, yes, you have.
I mean, technically, there's like
The Divine
Virgil did
Comedy?
the Divine Comedy. Yeah, whatever.
Bible fan fiction.
Still classics. There's
This is
no...
my hell AU.
Yes. Now, Johann David Weiss, his book had released just 16 years prior to when Jules Verne started school and was still widely popular. So it is possible that Madame Sambin was just trying to entertain the kids. Regardless, the story of her castaway husband was something that would stick with the young Jules Verne for many years to come. When
Was
he was...
into her?
What?
Because he was into her?
No.
Okay.
Because you're hearing a story about how her husband fucking died. Now, when he was 8, Jules would attend the illustrious École Saint Stanislas. As you can tell from the name, this was a prestigious academy that you weren't really expected to do well at. However, it was here that Jules Verne's incredible talent for memorization was revealed. Geography, Greek, Latin, Jules had the ability to nearly learn it all by heart. It was this same year of 1836 that his father Pierre bought a vacation home in a nearby village of Chantenay. The house went right along the local river, where the young Jules would find a fascination with the passing ships, quickly learning every make and model that passed through town. Autism never existed until recently.
I was going to make the same fucking joke.
However, the boy's fascination with a life at sea would cause a little bit of an incident.
Boat autistic.
When Jules was 12, he ran into 2 cabin boys that were working for a ship called the Coralie, which was due for a shipment in the Indies, Indonesia. Well, Jules actually paid one of the cabin boys to stay home and let him take his place, while the other boy would help sneak him onto the ship. Now,
it was going to be some kind of awakening when you introduced them. Like, he met 2 young cabin boys.
Honestly, even though it took a hard left from what you were initially thinking, once he got on that boat and it was about 3 months out, it might have been. Now, believe it or not, this plan was successful. They used the cover of fog to silently row their stowaway on board the Coralie in the early hours of the morning. However, Jules's mother Sophie noticed the house was a little too quiet that morning and had Pierre ride out into town looking for their boy. Pierre luckily ran into an old nurse of Jules's at the butcher shop, who said she saw him crossing the town square earlier that morning. Riding further out, Pierre spoke with the ferryman, who said he saw 3 boys rowing out towards the Coralie. It was at this moment that Pierre knew exactly what had happened. Fortunately,
lost at sea.
While the Coralie had already left the port of Chantenay, it would be taking a quick detour to the nearby town of Pamboeuf to collect the rest of its crew. It wasn't long before Pierre had his 12-year-old son back at home, where he made Jules promise that from that point on, he was to, quote, only travel in your imagination.
No manual labor for my son.
I'm sure there's
they're French. No manual labor for my son.
I'm sure there's an unwritten part there where he absolutely abused the shit out of Jules Verne. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
And now you get the belt. Run.
He takes... He fucking takes the baguette from around his pants. The fucking, like, leather strap just cha-cha.
No, it's a baguette. It's more like crackle, crackle, crackle.
Yeah, exactly. Well, luckily for everyone, Jules was quick to find a love for literature as a way to replace his fascination with sailing, finding particular interest in the work of Les Mis author Victor Hugo, the Raven author Edgar Allan Poe.
Hey.
What?
Am I allowed to ask about other authors?
Yeah. Well, there's no rules to this.
Did Victor Hugo have venereal disease?
I don't know. I haven't
He
researched
had to
him
have.
yet. Because of all the whores?
Yeah. From what you tell me.
Oh, he was a whore master.
It's either he was literally covered in whores, or he was just using it as a front to mask, I don't know, asexuality or something.
No, if that dude was fucking wearing a beard, he was wearing it with the thighs wrapped around his neck. Also, I love how just fucking uncomfortable you were saying whores.
I'm sorry. Sex workers.
Women of the night. You can actually see some similarities in Victor Hugo and Edgar Allan Poe's writing styles and Jules Verne, starting as far back as 1845, where
Edgar Allan Poe?
Yeah. I also have not researched him.
No, are they like, are they the buddies?
Oh, you know what? I couldn't find anything in here that actually validated that.
What I'm referencing, just for you listeners, is there used to be this Comedy Central show, Drunk History, where people would get drunk and talk about historical events. And there was an episode where they talked about Edgar Allan Poe and Jules Verne's being friends and like dunking on H.G. Wells.
Yeah, and I really couldn't find anything about that, honestly.
That's a bummer.
It doesn't mean that it didn't happen or it isn't true. It's just not super well documented. Unless I bought a book of Jules Verne's letters, and let me tell you, I bought the James Joyce book of letters only so
fart.
Yeah, I could read the fucking fart fetish shit. But really, man, book of letters are so fucking boring. So no way was I going to pick that up. No.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, but you can still see like some similarities in their writing styles and his, starting as far back as 1845, where we've discovered the supposed first work of Jules Verne at just the age of 17.
Wow.
It was called A Priest in 1839.
Church fan
And
fiction.
the main setting, coincidentally, is based entirely on the school he was attending at the time, the Petit Séminaire de Saint-Donation.
He did a Tina Belcher friend fiction.
No. Whatever the plot, the main character apparently speaks about the school in less than appealing terms, which makes sense given that on July 29th, 1846, the 18-year-old Jules Verne would receive his graduating papers with the final grade of good enough. Literally. I didn't know that you could earn that. I should have asked my teachers for that rather than a pass-fail. Now, the thing is, Pierre Verne had expected his eldest to carry on the family profession, law.
Ha.
Therefore, Jules was sent away to Paris to study. At least, that's the official story.
He really went for shopping.
You can't believe these bags that I got on such a steal. I only paid 400 fucking lira.
Excuse you. No, it went down from 420 euros down to fucking 120. Eat shit. 300 euros off. Of course I was buying it. Fuck
I
you.
bought white bread and some cold cuts, and I spent like less than $20 on that, and I fed myself for a week. But I think there was an ulterior motive to Jules Verne going to Paris. You see, Caroline was the love of Jules Verne's life. Also, his
Was
cousin.
she a boat? Oh!
Yeah. Was she a boat? I didn't see any pictures of her. She could have been a little hefty, yeah. Damn, bitch, I want to bring you out to sea and float on your back.
Christ.
And as much flirtation.
You look just like my auntie who looks just like my father.
And as much flirtation as was happening over the years through letters, she was getting married to someone she wasn't related to later that year.
Good.
Now, maybe it's just because I've seen this happen to several of the other authors we've covered on the show, but I think he was doing the whole fresh new start thing that happens when you get shot down. Like, that's just my guess.
Bro, that was your cousin.
But, like, no, he was very fucking distraught.
You covering these males who are like...
Do you think that I know this before
I'm so
going
into
in?
my
Like, I'm just,
cousin.
like, geared towards, like, oh, man, can't wait for a bunch of cousin
You know where there
fucker.
wasn't any
like-
incest when you were covering female writers?
Yeah, I know. But they're also gay, which is also a sin, so... Well, it would turn out that
At least
this...
they weren't fucking their cousins.
Yeah,
Also, the
but
ones
who's
that
more
were
right, you know?
straight, also not fucking cousins, right?
Yeah. Well, it would turn out that this may have been the right call after all. Because
Not fucking your cousin is the right
no,
call?
going to Paris. Because
Oh, okay.
it was on his return trip back to Nantes that Jules would fall in love with another woman.
Cousin?
No.
Boat.
Named Rose Hermione Arnauld Grossetier. And while he got plenty of writing practice penning some 30-odd poems to her, it seems his infatuation with Rose allowed him to fall away from his studies in Paris. And because Jules Verne didn't pass...
Always blame a woman.
Well, and because Jules Verne didn't pass his exams, thus no closer to actually becoming a lawyer, Rose's parents hooked her up with a wealthy landowner 10 years her senior.
Woof.
Jules would later drunkenly write to his mother, quote, "Personally, I shall console myself by killing the first black cat I meet."
What the fuck?
I'm sure that was a turn of
know
phrase.
what?
He's just talking about unlucky, but I don't think he actually was like,
She dodged a bullet.
Well, they
Rose
say there's
dodged
more
a
than-
bullet.
there's
His
a-
cousin dodged a bullet.
There's more than one way to skin a
Go
cat, they
fuck
said.
a boat, you weirdo.
this, as well as the lost love of his cousin, would give Jules Verne a constant theme in his future stories.
Always being dumped.
Women being married off against their will.
Jesus. that is
Truly,
Dork.
Shut up. He's a brilliant writer. Truly, Jules Verne felt hopeless for the future. He hated that all his friends were getting married except for him. He hated that he felt no excitement in practicing
Were his
law.
friends all his classmates from, like, successful classmates turned into lawyers?
Shh. And he felt a particular hatred for his hometown of Nantes, which to him had stolen 2 prospective partners from him. That's right, blame the town. To assuage his son, Pierre looked to send Jules back to Paris one last time, with the hope that he'd finish his law degree and maybe focus on his career instead. However, this was July of 1848, and the French Revolution had kicked off
Vive
just
la Révolution!
5 months prior.
Woo! Woo!
Now, this is not to be confused with the French Revolution of 1789, where the Marquis de Sade was freed from the Bastille, the beheadings of, all that other shit. I know, that was a mistake on their part. They didn't think that out. Or the French Revolution of 1830, which inspired the famous painting Liberty Leading the People by Eugene Delacroix. You know, the one with the lady holding up the French flag with her titties out.
All I
you know?
can think...
You know that one, right? Yeah. There's like a little boy like, lady, what the fuck? Like looking over to her. Yeah.
That is his first titty, and he's deciding, you know what, maybe I like men.
The French Revolution of 1848 started when the last king of France, King Louis Philippe I, was overthrown. Troops were sent to fight the crowds, and Napoleon Bonaparte III won in a democratic election later that year. Again, not the Napoleon. This was like his nephew. Anyway.
Running off his uncle's name.
If that's the input you want for it, yep. Anyway,
Nepo baby.
I just thought it was strange that 5 months into a whole fucking national revolution, Pierre sends his kid to the heart of it all to finish his law degree.
Maybe he just
the laws are gonna change more than likely. That's a bad idea.
Just was like, you know what, I don't want to deal with this fucking weirdo right now.
He might have. He did have 5 kids. Now remember, like Harriet Beecher Stowe or something, or like her mom had like 11 fucking children and shit.
Worker factory.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't know, 5 kids is still a lot. It is possible that he's just like, okay,
I can't deal with this. He's old enough to like fend for himself. You know what? Go back and learn how to be a lawyer. That's literally...
He's clearly good at memorization with boats and shit.
Well, that's what's fucking wild is like he could have had Rose if he had just stayed in fucking school. It's like, I'm sorry, do you still live in a time where, a parent is more concerned about like the business aspect rather than the true love aspect of their offspring's relationships?
Here's the thing, though. He would have had Rose if he became a lawyer, possibly, yes. But
odds would have been better.
Yes, very much so. But he also was falling away from his law degree because of Rose. Like, he was on the right track, but he was like, oh my God, let me pen you 30 poems.
No,
but
I think that's just a stupid excuse for the kid couldn't hack it.
Maybe. I mean...
Stop blaming... It's not... Women are not like drugs, all right?
Jesus Christ was killed because Judas, the only woman in his group, fucking made out with him in a garden, and that was illegal. Okay, I'm pretty sure. I didn't read the Bible, but I know that's what happened.
Judas trans AU.
Fuck, dude, that would actually be... That sounds like a classic novel that would come
out.
Let's
check the AO3 tags later.
Like, people yelling about it on Fox News and shit. That sounds great. Now, regardless, Jules Verne did find work in an attorney's office while he worked on getting his degree, but he mostly spent his time either reading or going to the theater. And while he was living on his own...
I don't think he was never going to make it.
His heart just wasn't in it.
Exactly.
And while he was living on his own in Paris, he'd often write his parents complaining about either how broke he was or that his stomach was always hurting.
Maybe you should fucking work.
You could buy yourself a fucking baguette if you fucking had a real job, dude.
I mean... it was one thing for like wealth inequality, but you make it sound like he really wasn't doing his job.
No,
despite having
you will find out he clearly does not give a fuck about law. He does not care. And while I figured at first that Jules Verne was just like kind of being a little bitch, I don't think he was a complete hypochondriac. he actually did have something wrong with him. What it was, we'll never exactly know, but he had like a nerve in his ear that would just spaz out sometimes, and then half his face would be fucking paralyzed, and then it would go away. Like, this didn't happen all the time, but it still sucks to be left...
Traumatic injury as a boat boy.
It's like, it sucks to be left with something that's just kind of like, oh, shit, face locked up again. You know, like, that's just...
What if
that's
it was
scary.
Traumatic injury as a boat boy? Because it's like...
He wasn't on the boat for more than, a few
Yeah,
hours.
but, like, if I were the fucking captain, like, a motherfucking stowaway Sacre Bleu. Here's the
Do you
the
think a
fucking
boat
belt.
captain
Boom.
actually knows what the cabin boys look like? I don't think so. He's just like, Jimothy? And he's just like, yeah.
I know there's not supposed to be 3 of you, so to be fair, I'm going to hit all of you.
He paid the other boy to stay home. That would suck, though, if another stowaway actually showed up and just started showing off and shit, like doing really well. And he's just like, you motherfucker.
See, the one that he paid to stay home still got hit by his parents because they were like, you're supposed to be out making real money, not this $5 to stay home shit.
Okay, I'm going to defend that kid and say, if I were a parent that has to put his kid onto a fucking boat to possibly get molested for 12 months, I'm going to go ahead and say, holy shit, did you just make your year's earnings without even getting on the boat? Like, yeah, I fucking found this.
Well, that's the thing.
This autistic kid that
is
loves
all,
boats. Like,
dependent
holy shit, do
on
it again.
whether or not Jules Verne actually paid him fairly.
That's true. He could have paid him in, like, fucking dimes and just been like...
Could have paid him in magic fucking beans.
Yeah, I paid him in licorice. Mummy, Daddy, look. Feeds us for a week. You fucking idiot. Like, it could have been. Well, in time, Jules would befriend a neighbor in his apartment complex by the name of Aristide Hignard. It turns out they were both interested in theater and sought to write a play of their own, with Verne writing plays and Hignard composing the music. Together,
They didn't just write plays, they wrote musicals.
Well, okay. Yeah. Now, together, they'd collaborate on a few different scripts, which would lead Jules to several different places to promote his work, specifically salons. Now, I know it sounds kind of like a gay bathhouse, but it's not.
No, I know.
Yeah, a salon back then is what you'd call a place where, like, you basically just went to hang out, talk, and drink.
And they trimmed your hair.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want? Television wasn't invented yet. So, anyway, Sophie Verne, Jules Verne's mother, actually had a friend that ran one of these salons, which is where Jules would end up spending most of his time. Well, it was while he was here in 1849 that Jules would meet with the son of the great Alexandre Dumas, the author of such classics as The Three Musketeers and The Count of Monte Cristo. His name was also Alexandre Dumas, but we'll just call him Junior. Well, it turns out that Jules and Junior got along very fucking well, to the point that they actually... No, stop making the fucking motion. That's not what they were doing. To the point that they actually collaborated on a play called The Broken Straws. And through Junior's nepotism, they had the play performed at the Théâtre Historique the very next year. Unfortunately for Pierre Verne, when his 23-year-old son Jules finally received his license in law in 1851, he had already felt his destiny lie in becoming an artist. If you want to speak to the disappointment that parents feel when you become an artist, you feel free.
My mother stayed home from work for a week.
So distraught.
Well, you have to realize we're Asian.
Uh-huh.
So it was especially difficult for her.
She's like, oh my God, if you're not going to become a doctor, that means that you have to either be a maid or a nurse. And that's not... I mean, to be fair, you initially wanted to do, like, if I remember correctly, marine biology. Your mom said, no, you're going to be a doctor. So then you said, fuck you, I'm going to do art. And that's kind of how that went.
It bounced around a lot as a child.
Oh, I'm sure. It's
I
honestly,
did, like,
it's insane to
stop
have...
at artist at one point and was just like... She was like, no, they don't make money. In grade school, me was just, like, thinking about fucking Van Gogh and shit. Like, it's okay. I'll be famous when I'm dead.
Yeah, that's not weird and depressing. But, you know...
There were always signs that I needed to be medicated.
Well, by his own family's admission, Jules was a great lawyer so long as he actually had to show up to court. But otherwise,
what does that mean?
like if he was the face-fronting lawyer for it, then like he had to work on his shit. Like if he was going to be presented at court. But otherwise, he was kind of shit at it.
I don't know. Just the nature of having a job in general means you show up.
Yeah. No. So here's the thing.
This is wild to me.
He
didn't have telecommunication capabilities. He can't fucking work from home with this shit.
Well, so here's the thing. He had a job at a attorney's office.
Okay.
He was technically an attorney.
Okay.
He wasn't anybody's first choice. He was actually great at it so long as he forced his ass into court.
Oh,
to
he's Saul
defend.
Goodman.
Yeah, kinda. But usually, if he was stuck in the office, they'd knock on his office door, open it, and he was just usually napping or reading. And that was it. He wasn't actually doing work. He wasn't doing paperwork. He wasn't doing anything.
God. Well, at that point, if he's got his lawyer's license, then they've got paralegals now.
Right, exactly. So that's what I mean. Like, he doesn't give a fuck. He's still raking in some bucks. Like, now, at the same time, there was a magazine called The Family Museum that put out an ad looking for stories. Not just adventure or fantasy, mind you, but something that could educate the audience as well as entertain.
Lawyer fiction.
Something where, through the exploits of the story's narrator, someone may be able to learn about history or geography or science. The idea interested Jules Verne, so he submitted a story that was set to publish in July of 1851 called, Ace Attorney. No.
Yeah, Phoenix Wright. Holy shit.
No. It was called La Amérique du Nord, étude historique, la première navire de la marine mexicaine. Or, in its literal Google translation, North America, Historical Studies, the first ships of the Mexican Navy. The story is set in 1825 as we follow a sailor named Lieutenant Martinez and his mutiny of Martinez?
Not Ramirez?
No, Lieutenant Martinez and his mutiny of a Spanish warship off the coast of Guam. He and his crewmates kill the captain, sailing for the newly independent Mexico, where they plan to sell the ship to the Mexican government. But as they dock and travel by land on their way to Mexico City, Martinez becomes paranoid that some of the men are still loyal to their old captain and may strike at any moment to exact their revenge. By the end of the story, Martinez's madness drives him to turn on his own co-conspirators before ultimately being plunged from the cliffs above Mexico City down to his death. That's their whole reaction to it.
You know,
yeah,
as
that's
you
it.
do.
Yeah, it's not a great.
It's a cycle of betrayal. I don't know. As
Yeah,
you
I
do,
know.
you just like you betray one guy and then get worried about other people deciding to betray you. And
Yeah, no, as
circle of
entertaining
life.
as entertaining as that story is, I was asking myself though, like, what the hell can anyone learn from this? I mean, like, wasn't that the point, to learn something?
Did he talk about lizards?
No, I honestly, I have
Cactuses?
I have no idea. Everything I look at talks more about the fact that it's a Jules Verne story than the incident it's supposedly
Geography.
based on. Well, so, I mean, the most I can say is that Verne apparently spoke with someone who participated in the Mexican War of Independence, but beyond that, I don't know if the guy...
Maritime law.
I don't know if the guy told him about a real account or if he told him, like, what the cliffs above Mexico City looked like or how a ship sails or what. No idea. I even tried looking for the story myself online. I couldn't find, like, a good
How
translation.
graphic was
so
this?
Not at all. There's no way it could have been.
Because it's a family magazine.
Yeah. Well, it's called fucking, what was it? The Family Cabinet
The
or some
Family
shit.
Circus.
Yeah, the Family Museum. That's it. Well, so regardless, this story was a success, though. And it would lead Jules Verne to write a second short story just a month later in August, titled Science for Families, A Voyage in a Balloon. Now, this story is a lot simpler than the last one. It's about a guy who's about to lift off in a hot air balloon, But the moment he does, another guy jumps in and tells him, I'm going to take this thing straight up until it kills us.
Sorry, why is that so funny?
Because it's fucking weird. So this one is much simpler to tell you,
random.
But it tells you what the lesson is. Like, while they lift up into the atmosphere, the main character narrates the history of air travel and what will happen to their bodies as the air gets thinner. Simple. Like, that's honestly, that sounds fine. I would much rather read that one than the one before. But Jules Verne, he was hooked. He looked for more writing opportunities, but couldn't really find any.
Educational writing.
Yeah, a bit. So he looked to his friend, Alexandre Dumas Jr., who put him in contact with the new director of the Theatre Historique, the place where their play had performed just a year prior.
Well, did it do well, by the way?
It doesn't really. I couldn't find anything that says one way or another.
Middling reviews.
Well, I would assume so. It's honestly like, hey, here's two guys, and one of them is a famous guy's son.
Nephew.
That he didn't really talk to. Like, I looked into it, and, like, Alexandre Dumas Sr. fucking abandoned this kid. Like, he's he's literally
his son. It's not his nephew.
Yeah, it's his son. It's just
you're
by
right.
name.
I'm thinking of Napoleon.
Yeah, no, it's by name only. Literally, it was just like, I'm sure. But also for like a play that has never, like, they've never performed anything else. They've never written anything that's been performed before. I'm sure they gave him like a couple weeks, maybe at best. But nothing that, like, had them being like, oh, my God, write us something more. Well, this new director of the Theatre Historique, he didn't know anyone who was looking to publish any stories. But the theater did have an opening for a secretary. Now, granted, it didn't pay jack shit, but Verne still jumped at the chance, since it would offer him more of an opportunity to write than, you know, being a lawyer. He had to have been making fucking so much more. So much more than a secretary at a fucking theater. He's a fucking moron.
Oh my God.
But baby, that's passion. Now, this news, of course, devastated his father, Pierre. He spent this fucking money.
Did he stay home for
a week
from work?
He stayed home for a week. No, he spent all this fucking money to get his kid through law school. And he's abandoning everything to go work at a fucking theater. So Pierre writes to him, stop with all this writing nonsense, lawyer up, quit Facebook, hit the gym. But Jules tells him, I can't. There's no jobs for lawyers out there.
I can't, Daddy, I love him.
So once again, his father puts his money where his mouth is and actually buys Jules his very own practice back in his hometown of Nantes. And all this poor guy wants is for his son to not waste his fucking degree. But even after everything, after buying him his own office and basically handing him a career, Jules writes back, quote, am I not right to follow my own instincts? It's because I know who I am that I realize what I can be one day. And then he clicked his heels in the air while his dad shot himself. No. But I did end up reading a biography on Jules Verne that's written by his own grandson. And even he has this line in here that's like, he was poor by his own choice.
Yeah.
Word, brother, word.
Not word.
So while Jules Verne would spend the next couple years writing shitty little comedies for the theater, ones that would never even make it to the stage.
It's because he put too many math jokes in.
He keeps himself entertained in France's National Library, the Bibliothèque Nationale de France.
I was there.
Great story.
No, like... I'm going to sound like an asshole. I didn't realize we were there. We were just leaving some shop, and we were just like, look, we really need to use the bathroom. And they're like, I'm so sorry, we don't have one for customers. But if you go across the street, the library there, the National Library,
I bet your mom was looking for glass in the street to slit her fucking wrists.
No, she just willingly went in.
Your mom willingly went to a library?
Yeah, I took a fucking selfie, like, proof that I got my mom into a fucking library.
I wish that you could have gotten
my
your mom into a
God.
library without piss or
I
shit
don't
getting
think
involved.
I've ever been to the library
No.
here with her,
No.
like as a child,
absolutely
and
not.
needing to like go
Dude,
for
no.
school
If
material.
anything, she would have been like, "I'll drop you out front with the rest of the bums. I'm sure that they could get you in."
Essentially, like either that or like if there was a parental figure going to the library with me, it was my father.
Yeah, no. Your mom's just like, I wasn't born to read. I can't read. Fuck that. So he goes to the biblioteca, where he continues to learn anything he can
I pooped there.
about science regardless of the subject. Somewhere along the way, Jules runs into a man named Jacques Arago. He is a well-known explorer, recognized for his detailed trips around the world, and the two strike up a friendship. And it's while learning about Arago's adventures that Verne realizes the story he wrote in the past, the one about the Mexican Navy and the hot air balloon, they may have been written with a focus on learning and adventure as a prompt for these family magazines, but why couldn't that be the case all the time? Why not just write what he was interested in, a mix of science and fiction? This would, of course, lead Jules Verne to invent a new kind of story, one he called the Roman de la Science, or the novel of science. Of course, this name never took off, but you and I would know it together as the science fiction. Well,
was he really the first?
Technically, no. Like, there are other people that, like...
But he made it more well-known?
Well,
is that why he's a landmark, or is it just...
He basically made it his whole career. Meanwhile, there was, like, I want to say, like, Frankenstein technically came out before that.
Yeah, that's true.
It's technically science fiction. There were several stories in the past that did use science in their fiction.
Shelley.
But they never, like...
She didn't fuck a cousin.
Did she? I'm thinking... No, she didn't.
She was not related to Percy Shelley at all.
No, she was not. But I did have to think about it because people back then were just really into fucking family, you know?
It's just like...
I was thinking, like, Lord Byron absolutely, like, did, and a sister.
I mean,
you know,
did European... Because these are all white writers. Mm-hmm. Did European population never, like, run out? Did the European population... never bounce back from the plague? Is that why there's so much cousin fucking?
What would that have to do with cousin fucking,
because
though? Like,
the plague decimated you guys.
Like, so many, to the point that, like, there were 3 families that were running about or something?
And, like, all you had to do was fuck cousins.
No. No, I honestly don't know what their excuse is. I've got, like, one girl cousin. Was never into her.
Thank God, Christ.
I have no idea.
Jesus.
Ew.
So then what's up with these guys?
I don't know. Ask a fucking cousin fucker. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know. I've never had the interest.
The Venn diagram of, like, writers throughout history.
That just fuck cousins.
Cousin fuckers.
I don't know, man.
And people from Alabama.
Hey, don't mention Alabama on this podcast. We've got a rule.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now it's going into trigger warnings. Yeah. Oh, hang on. All right, now the beer unintended.
Wait, is that really real about Alabama?
Oh, yeah, we have a whole trigger warning whenever you bring up Alabama.
Why?
Because fucking Alabama. Some people may not want to hear the name. Place fucking sucks. Ooh, nice and shaken. Oh, baby.
Yeah, watching the grocery man put the beers in a bag.
Oh, they just go before he fucking...
I was looking at that like, man, I'm really glad we're not going to drink these till later.
Yeah. So anyway, as Verne begins to form this new genre, the Roman de la Science.
Science fiction.
Nope.
We're in America now.
He manages to publish a couple more stories for the magazine, The Family Museum. But he and the editor get into some big fight, something that no one is ever sure what exactly it was about.
Don't you look at my cousin that way.
That's my woman. And Verne declares that he'll never publish a story in their magazine again for as long as he lives, which he doesn't. But unfortunately, Jules Verne has no backup plan, and he has no idea where the fuck else to publish.
Sounds exactly like him so far. Like,
Honestly, yeah.
fuck this career that
Fuck you.
brings me
I'm
more
gonna do
money
my
and
own thing.
stability. I'm gonna work in the theater.
Daddy, I need a check. Yeah. A couple years later, in May of 1856, the 28-year-old Jules Verne would be the best man in a friend's wedding. He stayed with the bride's family and found himself infatuated with the bride's sister.
It's not gonna work.
A 26
They're not related.
26-year-old widow with 2 young daughters, whose name was Honorine Anne Hebe de France de Vian.
Her name had the word "and" in it.
Anne.
Oh, Anne.
Honorine Anne Hebe de
Hebe.
Hebe de France
Heebie-jeebies.
de Vianney. Now, of course, being a broke bitch is no way to find oneself married in high society Paris.
That's true.
But Verne had luckily made an impression on Honorine's family, and her brother was down to start a business with Verne as a stockbroker.
Oh no.
But they would need someone to help finance their venture.
Oh no.
Now, Nicole, who could possibly do
Don't
that?
tell me Pierre Verne.
Pierre was quite outspoken about being
Cool
fed up with his
Christ.
son's bullshit. So it was
As he should be.
with some reluctance that, yes,
No.
he still sent his son money to open up a
Well,
business.
I hope he sold his son's so-called practice in quant.
I'm
Quaint,
sure he probably
quant.
did. Nantes.
Nantes.
The quant. He'd send his son money to open up a business with his girlfriend's brother just a few weeks after meeting him. I would have just, honestly, I'm not for hitting children. Look, I'm not for it.
He's not a child anymore. You can fight him like a man.
I'm beating a man's ass. That's what's going on. He's 28. I'm beating a full-grown man. His frontal lobe is developed. I could bounce his forehead against the fucking
Exactly.
concrete.
You don't need the belt anymore. Use your fist.
Just kick the shit out of him. He just comes back all swollen. Did you get the check from your dad? Yeah. Now, to his credit, Jules Verne was actually very serious about this new business, but admittedly, he was doing it all to impress Honorine's parents. According to a friend of his, Verne had better personality than he did business sense. He would often wake up early to hit the library before work, where he would then quickly look up scientific facts, write them down on a little note card, go to the office, and then just continue writing adventure stories in his office instead of doing whatever the fuck he was actually supposed to be doing.
Work.
Yeah, it sounds like when he was an attorney. But
Yeah.
I guess Honorine's brother carried the business for 2 because her parents saw enough promise in Jules that they accepted his marriage proposal. On January 10th, 1857, the two were wed, just 2 months after the business began and 8 months after their first meeting.
I wonder what the societal...
Standard was?
Yeah, because she is a widow.
She is. Well, I mean, and
With
granted,
children.
I only know this based off of, honestly, BBC stories and shit that have run in the background while I'm playing fucking games on my phone that you were watching. But they always seem like, oh, a widow? That's a broken woman right there. You know,
Right?
They're just like, yeah. So I don't know how true that is because, honestly, I mean, okay, I'm not going to say that anybody who's
it's
widowed
still
is a broken woman.
respectable.
Yes, but it depends on what age you are.
But they
I
just
feel like,
seem like, you know, they prioritize.
well, okay. Here's the thing. A 26-year-old with 2 kids in today's society that's like on Tinder is like, oh, fuck. But usually...
But for back then.
Yeah, for back then, these people were getting married at like 16, 17.
Well, yeah, Jane Austen thought
So it's like-
26-year-olds were old as fuck.
Like, if we were to go on Tinder for people our own age and saw that they had 2 kids, it's like, yeah, no, that was a whole lifetime ago. Like,
That's true.
shit happens, dude. Like, so a year and a half later, in July of 1858, Verne's old neighbor and composer friend, Aristide Hignard, you remember that guy? He was an apartment complex next to him, and they like wrote a little play together where they did like, he did the writing,
right,
he did the
right,
music.
right.
Yeah.
They tried to,
Yeah.
musicals.
So Aristide Hignard and Hignard's brother offered Jules the chance to take a voyage sailing around the British Isles to Scotland with them. This had been, I mean, that's a fucking boat right there. This had been Jules Verne's dream since he was a fucking kid. So, of course, he jumped on the chance. This was his first time leaving France. He fucking loved it.
That's right, I forgot he was French.
I was starting to like the guy. I forgot he was French.
No, not like that.
He wrote a whole travelogue called The Backwards to Britain that he never bothered to publish. And then a few years later, in 1861, Hignard, I don't know how to do it without it. It's Hignard, Hignard, probably.
Sure.
But something in me is just like, no, it's got to be Scandinavian. So Hignard. So Hignard and his brother took Verne to Scandinavia. Oh, there you go. Unfortunately, as the crew arrived in Denmark, Jules Verne would have to travel back home as fast as he could and ultimately miss the birth of his only child on August 3rd, 1861. A child they named Michel Jean-Pierre Verne. I feel like taking the trip while your wife is pregnant,
he shouldn't have done
maybe
that.
a little, don't do that. That's on him, I think.
But I feel like...
Well, also he's getting a letter like, hey, the baby's about to come, and it's like, oh, it took like a month for this letter to get here. I better jump on a boat. Like at that point,
well,
fuck
and
it.
Then, I'm sorry.
Drink a shot with the boys.
She had to have been pregnant when he left. Otherwise, that's not his, you know? So it's
Absolutely.
like...
Yeah.
You idiot.
I know. That's what I'm
just
saying. Like, why the fuck would you do that? Like, no, I'm sorry.
Track record... If his fatherhood track record is like his work track record, maybe his wife is just like, you know what? You're going to be useless to me. Get out of here.
You know what? It could be that. It really could be. I think...
And just like a letter like, hey, FYI, I don't know if you remember, but, you know, the baby's
hey, by the way, this kid is yours, technically. Yeah. I mean, okay, so here's the thing. Like, Dan, I brought it up to serial killer Dan again. And I was like, hey, you remember that you, like, proposed going to Bosnia sometime? I was like, yeah, I'm still down for that. And it's like, okay, all right. You know, and it's like, but, like, a flight.
Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yes. They serve you a cigarette with the coffee. That's very cool. But it's like, that trip, like, what, a day is lost at most? Like, months. If you were pregnant or something, I'm like, hey, I might take a trip with Dan, and the baby's not expected to be due any time now. I'm going to be gone for like a week or something. That's a drop in the bucket compared to I'm sailing over to the mainland. You know, it's stupid. Also, fucking people died back then taking a boat. Like, he almost left her widowed a second time. Now, ultimately, these trips to Scotland and Scandinavia would inspire Verne to go
He's got a road trip, too, because if he's coming from, like, Paris... That's landlocked.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. But these trips would inspire Verne to go beyond writing a short story and focus on his very first novel. He would base it on the exploits of a photographer he'd met named Felix Nadar, who, in 1858, took the first ever aerial photographs. And not to lose any time in the development process, Felix did this by actually having his lab, like his photo lab, with him in a hot air balloon where he went through the whole chemical process of developing the film and everything while the whole thing was just jiggling about up in the fucking atmosphere. Felix was also the first person to shoot photos underground, setting up a lighting system in the Paris catacombs. Oh, you guys should have gone to the Paris catacombs. It would have been a cool...
They weren't interested.
Really? Oh, man.
Yeah.
You were literally the only person on that trip who was interested in, like, museums.
Yes.
Either way, the man would even build his own air balloon, a massive one he appropriately named the Giant, which unfortunately crashed on its second ever flight. This incident, however, would be the inspiration to Verne's first novel, titled 5 Weeks in a Balloon.
Oh.
I know, you were thinking of another one. It comes a lot later.
Okay, he just has to take
right. Okay, no.
time
Okay,
to
go
get
ahead
there.
and what book were you thinking of?
Was he around the world in 80 days?
He
or
was.
Am I imagining that?
And I'm pissed off about it after I read the book. Not a single hot air balloon in the entire novel.
Oh.
Not a single fucking one.
How does he get around the world in 80 days?
Mostly train.
Oh.
We'll talk about it later.
He what? Takes a fucking train to the Americas? What the fuck?
Well, he takes like a boat. It doesn't matter. Anyway. Also, he goes the other way. So the problem was, after writing the whole thing out, Jules Verne realized that he had a whole-ass novel without a publisher. It would take him a year before a mutual friend would introduce him to a man named Pierre Jules Hetzel. No. Hetzel had already published the likes of Victor Hugo, Émile Zola, and Honoré de Balzac. Basically, don't laugh at his name. Balzac is a proud name. Basically, the biggest names in France in the day. Landing a contract with this guy would be huge. And luckily, Jules Verne had just made the kind of story he was looking to publish. One that, just as Jules wanted, was one that could teach as well as entertain. Hetzel agreed to publish Jules Verne's story in his upcoming magazine, but even in its first draft, Hetzel could tell 5 Weeks in a Balloon was not perfect by any means. Yes?
You said this was going to be a two-parter?
Yeah.
Is that the entire script, or do you just have it?
No, this is the first part.
Ow!
I know. Now you know how fucking Caleb feels. We're not even halfway through. This is 18 pages.
Bitch.
Yeah. Did you,
Can we eat dinner?
Yeah, you want to eat dinner?
Yeah.
All right. All right, we took a little break, and now I'm podcasting here with fucking Patrick Bateman. You got a sheet mask on.
Aww.
That's not a good. That's not a good impression. All right, so Hetzel agreed to publish Jules Verne's story in his upcoming magazine, but even in its first draft, Hetzel could tell 5 Weeks in a Balloon was not perfect by any means. So he came up with a series of edits to see just how many Verne could work into a story. Now, this is where an editor really comes in. You see, usually an author would be able to fit, say, 3 of the 5 required edits into a story, and the editor helps you plan the rest. Maybe you don't even need all of the edits done if the others you manage to work in well enough. But in just 2 weeks, Verne had come back with every item checked off the list, essentially rewriting the entire story. It was only the second draft because it became the final edition of what we have today. The thing is, Hetzel didn't really have a magazine to publish it like he said he did. At least not yet. He wanted to secure stories before it would launch, in something he called Magazine of Education and Recreation. But knowing that Verne's story would change the game, he quickly drew up a contract which would pay Jules Verne a salary in return for a certain amount of pages per year. On top of that, Hetzel would pay Verne a flat rate for publishing rights to each book, and Jules Verne, who never really had a steady income, immediately jumped on the contract. One they would revisit every few years.
He's a lawyer.
Yeah. You're right. You probably should read it a little better too, but it was a contract that at least, and here's where Hetzel is good in this. He actually allowed them to revisit like every few years for bigger and better opportunities. Like he wasn't a complete.
Very kind of him.
Yeah, I know. He wasn't a complete
complete
dick.
asshole.
Yeah. No, this was actually a very progressive thing for Hetzel to do at the time. Mm-hmm. He was a big proponent in authors' rights in an age when publishers would usually just buy the rights for the novels outright. Mm-hmm. But Hetzel believed that an author should earn royalties based on their stories just as much as the publishers that would get rich off of them for years afterwards. I mean, of course.
Yeah.
Now, something...
It's so obvious.
Yeah.
But
Human
not
rights.
business-minded at all.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this was the phrase I was teaching Dean on our trip, was just, it's people over profits is the ideal, but the reality is profits over people.
Yes, unless you kill the right people. Now, sometime between the writing of Verne's first work and its actual publication, Jules Verne would become good friends with his work's inspiration, the photographer Felix Nadar. Together, they discovered a shared love of space travel, or at this point, the theories surrounding it. So in 1862, Verne and Nadar established the Society for the Encouragement of Aerial Locomotion by Means of Heavier-than-Air Machines.
Is there an acronym for that?
Seal Mom.
Seal Moms!
Nadar would serve as president while Verne acted as secretary. How many meetings they actually had or how many members they collected, I can't really say. Regardless.
5.
I don't think it even got that high. Regardless, when Pierre-Jules Hetzel finally released his Magazine of Education and Recreation, Jules Verne's career really began, where 5 Weeks in a Balloon would hit the stands on January 31st, 1863. Woo. The story follows Dr. Samuel Ferguson, accompanied by his faithful manservant Joe and a friend of his named Dick Kennedy, as they set out on an adventure across the barely explored African continent in a hydrogen balloon. Their goal? To draw a line between the expeditions being done in West Africa by explorer Heinrich Barth and the eastern explorations of Sir Richard Burton. If Burton's name sounds familiar to anyone, he's the guy who translated the Kama Sutra into English and went tribe to tribe measuring their dicks. For more
so he was a freak.
A bit. For more information on this, you can go to episode 69 of this podcast,
freak,
of course.
7 days a week.
I think he did it more than 7. Now, anyway, throughout their adventures, Dr. Ferguson, Joe, and Dick managed to get themselves into trouble. You're going to have to get over the name Dick. It was very common back in the day.
You were just talking about measuring them, like literally.
They managed to get themselves into trouble with these little episodic adventures, like getting attacked by vultures while they're in the air, or running out of water, or rescuing a missionary from tribal sacrifice. Yeah, it's kind of cute. It's yeah. I didn't read this one, to be honest, but it sounds it sounds like the consensus on the internet is that 400 pages is a bit too fucking long for this story.
That is that's crazy.
It's skippable even by Jules Verne fan standards.
If you're talking about like an adventure of the week, it probably worked really well for how it was being published.
Well, and remember, magazines.
Which is like magazine.
Yeah, but magazines back then were thick too.
Oh,
you gotta
were
remember.
they?
Oh yeah, because it would be like fucking 30 pages per chapter,
sense.
and
yeah,
they were
no,
huge.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
but it's also like coming out, regularly. So people aren't reading it in one sitting.
Yeah.
They're just, I wonder what's going on with the Balloon Boys.
The Balloon Boys. No, it's true. It honestly...
Tune in next issue next month.
See, that's the thing that I always thought was funny when we were, like, collecting comics and shit, was, like, a comic book is, like, without the ads, around 20 to 22 pages, right? Mm-hmm. And it was coming out monthly. And yet, like, in Japan, they were coming out weekly, being fucking, like, 50 to 70 pages each, no ads.
Well, do American comic book artists get, like, assistance?
I don't know. I imagine
I know they get
have
colorists and letterers.
But, not really. I'm sure that they have some assistance, but, like... But it was always wild to me because it was like, with like a manga or something, it's like, yeah, week by week I can remember the story. But like the 20 odd pages that you would get in American comic books and you wait a month in between, like it was so funny because like Scott Snyder was ending his run on Batman. And so like to celebrate like the final run, I went back and reread all of Scott Snyder's run of Batman.
Yeah.
And there was so much shit in there that makes so much better sense when you're reading it all in a straight line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I get that.
He did this whole thing with, like, was it Dr. Bloom or Mr. Bloom or something like that? You remember
the plant
like,
man.
fucking... Yeah, but he looked like fucking String Bean. What's his name? Slender Man. And shit like that. There's a whole backstory about, like, losing a son in the Gulf War and shit like that. I did not remember any of that shit. Like...
Yeah, that's true. Like... Some of those stories would have benefited.
Yeah.
like an all-in-one shot
But
kind of a thing.
I will say for a magazine of that length, monthly makes sense because it's like you
yeah.
are going to read through over 100 pages worth of shit. And granted, most of it you're probably going to skip, like, not into it. But either way.
Excuse me.
Yet, what amazed audiences the most, even this early on, was just how accurate Jules Verne was at predicting future scientific discoveries. For instance, in this book, he not only guessed that the location of the source of the Nile River was in Uganda, he also correctly described the tribes west of Lake Victoria whose diet consisted of curdled milk.
Huh.
These are things which would only be confirmed later that year, after 5 Weeks in a Balloon had already been published, and once explorer John Hanning Speke released the findings of his African exploration.
He's a witch.
But here's the thing: throughout his career, Jules Verne would always have this almost prophetic sense of telling what discoveries lay in store for the future of science. Hell, when 5 Weeks in a Balloon came out, not only did the adventure aspect draw attention from people of all ages, but legit geographers and cartographers of his day were impressed by how accurate Jules Verne was with his facts. Thing is, he was friends with a lot of scientists. He liked hanging out at the library with explorers and shit. And as it would turn out, he and John Hanning Speke hung out after he got back from Africa months prior to this. So Jules Verne actually
he already knew.
He had insider knowledge that he decided to put in his book.
Well, and he's got that memory.
And
if he's interested in it, he'll apply himself.
Right.
Not like the law.
Not like I would when a guy's like, yeah, they just take curdled milk and chug it down like cottage cheese. And I'd be like, well, I'm forgetting that as soon as I leave the library. That's gross.
Really? Because that would stick in my brain. Like,
not in the way you want.
Oh, really? But then this is like, as you say, maybe this is before the invention of cottage cheese. Who decided to like eat milk in various stages of like?
Dude, I don't know. I mean, this was before pasteurization too, wasn't it?
I have no idea anymore.
I don't know either.
The timeline.
You know what though? You could tell me the date, and as soon as I walk out of the store, I'm gonna fucking forget it
All
because I don't give a shit.
Just like cottage cheese. Maybe we should get some.
Like cottage cheese.
I do too.
A breakfast of cottage cheese and fruit is
like
sick,
it.
man.
You know
it's
what?
great.
Honestly, I kind of like it savory. Like this is what I do. I add like a touch more salt, some black pepper, and put it on some crackers.
Oh no shit!
Yeah.
That sounds delightful.
Mm-hmm.
Don't we have some cottage cheese?
Well, I don't know how long it's been in the fridge, babe.
Yeah, I'm giving it to the
I
dog.
was gonna say I treat it kind of like a ricotta cheese, where it's like you could push it savory or you could push it sweet.
Man, this is my fucking kind of podcast right now. Let's just talk about fucking milks and cheese.
Cherry jam with cottage cheese on your toast, you fucker.
Now, Verne did try. He did try to sell the previous book that he had written earlier to Hetzel, the travelogue Backwards to Britain, about his time sailing through the British Isles. But Hetzel declined the project, basically hoping...
Pause. Didn't he have to cut that trip short because of his child?
Yeah, but like he still used his like experiences to like Scotland and shit like that to like.
So he made it to some of the British Isles.
Yeah. He made it work.
Oh right, you said they were like, hey, you know what? Now that we're done with the British Isles, how about Finland or Norway?
Yeah,
or whatever?
Scandinavia, and he had to cut that short. Yeah,
yeah. So basically, he had to cancel his trip extension.
He had to cut his boys' trip, and really, that's a sacred law. And Nicole, you never cut a boys' trip.
Okay, just cut your boys off, fucker.
but either way, Hetzel declined his project, basically hoping for something more daring and adventurous after the success of 5 Weeks in a Balloon. Hetzel knew
7 weeks in a balloon.
Whoa, shit!
This time we're going to Scandinavia.
Hetzel knew the contract he had with Verne was a lucrative one, so he didn't want Verne's career to fizzle out too fast. Instead, Jules Verne hands him another science fiction story, one freshly written called Paris in the 20th Century. Now, the story is of 16-year-old Michel Dufresnoy. Michel Dufresnoy. In the far-flung future of 1960.
Oh shit.
He's
I wasn't even alive then.
He's a recent graduate from outside the metropolis of Paris, so he decides to find his future in the big city. However, as Michel comes to find, Paris, so far evolved from the rest of society, is a bleak sign of what's to come for the rest of the world.
You know, it's so funny that that's how it's described, because I feel like I've seen with the, in relation to the heat wave that's hitting Europe right now, is I feel like I've seen a lot of commentary being like, oh yeah, in France, or at least in Paris, they have to stick to, when they do new buildings or renovations, they have to consider the other buildings around it to like build it in the same style.
You were telling me
you
like
can't
you
have
have
an
to
air conditioning machine.
Yeah, you have to make sure
without
that your
approval
AC
from
looks
your landlord or your neighbors.
Victorian or whatever.
At least not if you want the the ones that hang out the window, but like if it's as long as it's in your apartment, that's fine. But if it's hanging out the window, you need outward approval
from like neighbors and shit,
in landlords or whatever. And it just seems very like so it's just funny that Jules Verne is describing it as like it's so far evolved, when it's like I feel like certain neighborhoods it's like no, we're keeping it in that revolutionary era architecture down to the last.
We're pretending like we're still in the
modern
19th century. Yeah, no, that's true.
I mean that's how it's probably how they keep the practice of guillotine building alive. Is just we can't modern protest. We have to French Revolution protest.
To be fair, as long as there are politicians, there will always be guillotine building. Now, when Michel goes to the library, he finds that not only do they not carry the works of masters such as Victor Hugo, they don't even know who Victor Hugo is.
Wow.
In fact, the library carries nothing more than books designed to teach technology and business, basically manuals, while any study of art has largely been tossed away. However, Michel finds a man who claims to be his long-lost uncle. Uncle Huguenon was seen as a black sheep in Michel's family, all for his love of the arts. And although Michel knows nothing of him, Uncle Huguenon has been keeping a close eye on Michel in his studies. Most of the novel takes place here at the library and is mostly just a long list of predictions that Jules Verne had. Like war being unneeded, since technology has found a way for one country to wipe out another instantaneously, which leads all countries to a stalemate.
I feel like, man, this is just so much more accurate than Nostradamus.
Yeah. I mean, yes, but that man was just a fucking shady salesman, too.
Well,
but
but it's like,
well, as such, this would mean to accurately predict things like the Cold War of the 1960s, though we unfortunately do not seem to care who has nuclear weapons in the real world today. We're just gonna keep killing each other no matter what. Anyway, as Michel gains friends and lovers throughout the novel, he finds a home in Paris, as the rest of the world quickly adopts the city's priorities on the automation of absolutely everything. However, as time goes on, a terribly cold winter kills the country's crops, and Michel finds his friends abandoning Paris, leaving him all alone. No one seems to be able to fix the machines that machines themselves have been maintaining for several years, and the harsh cold kills off any idea of future farming. All the rivers in Europe freeze solid, and people begin to starve.
The one wrong prediction. It's really, really cold in Paris.
Yeah. As Michel loses his mind from a slow starvation, he believes himself a target by the quote-unquote demon of electricity. As the story ends, Michel walks in circles around an old cemetery before finally dying in the snow. The book would surprisingly predict a number of inventions, including cars powered by gasoline, trains guided by magnetic rails, fax machines, electric streetlights, buildings made of glass, and a worldwide communication network one would be inconsiderate to not see as the internet. Anyway, Hetzel declined the project. said it made the future
Ooh.
look too pessimistic, as if the year 1960 was
They don't know
gonna,
the fucking
like it was
half
gonna
of
be
it.
shit or something.
They don't know the half of it.
He told Verne, quote, "I was not expecting perfection. To repeat, I knew that you were attempting the impossible, but I was hoping for something better." He told Verne that he wasn't covering any new ground with the plot and that writers have had bad shit to say about the future for decades. More specifically, Hetzel said, quote, "I am surprised at you. The story is lackluster and lifeless." Paris in the 20th Century wouldn't be published until 1994. Instead, Jules Verne would introduce The Adventures of Captain Hatteras, which would be serialized in Hetzel's magazine over the next few years, and later adapted to the stage to extremely bad reviews.
Oh, no.
According to Verne's own grandson, quote, "Hollywood could hardly do worse. I have never been able to fathom why Verne let them do it, or why he did, which is worse."
Money.
Yeah. Yet instead of focusing on the bad reviews, Jules Verne whiled away on one of his more groundbreaking works, specifically in 1864, Journey to the Center of the Earth.
With Brendan Fraser.
Was he in that one?
Yeah.
God, man, what a time. I imagine The Rock in most of these because he really was just going for anything Disney owned, you know?
Yeah, no, this one was Brendan Fraser.
Did you watch it?
No.
I'm sure it was shit. Like he's having
I love him, but
he's
it's
having
also like,
you love his character in real life. He does not have a good career. He's doing fine now. But
that's
let's
who
fucking
I
face
love.
it.
God, what was his name in The Mummy?
The Rock.
What? No, I'm talking about Brendan Fraser. How dare you?
What, his character?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. It's everyone just knows it as like, oh yeah, that's Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. Yeah, that's all
And The
anybody
Mummy.
knows. Nobody gives a shit about their names. She got thick ass. He got fucking good hammies. Like, what else do you need to know? Quote, "Looking back to all that has occurred to me since that eventful day, I am scarcely able to believe in the reality. Scarcely, shut up. Able to believe in the reality of my adventures. They were truly so wonderful that even now I am bewildered when I think of them."
Did they do that one on Wishbone?
I didn't watch Wishbone. I really didn't watch anything that was like real life. I only watched animated shit.
I mean, Wishbone was the exception because it was all
A
through the
dog?
perspective of a dog.
Yeah.
Really cute dog.
Yeah. Well, I was one that had a dog in real life, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah. We didn't have a dog at that point yet.
Really? You didn't have Milo?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, the story follows our hero Axel and his uncle, the German professor
The German
Otto.
Shepherd.
The German professor Otto Leidenbrock, who stumbles upon the mystery. If you need to think of this in terms of dogs, that's fine. Uncle Otto has come upon an ancient Icelandic riddle which reads, quote, "Go down into the crater of Snæfellsjökull, which Skartaris' shadow caresses just before the calends of July. O daring traveler, and you'll make it to the center of the earth. I've done so." According to Uncle Otto, however, this isn't a riddle at all, but an instruction. So they depart to Iceland immediately, the professor believing this could be the clue to some sort of major discovery. But Axel thinks the whole thing is horseshit. Regardless, they arrive in Reykjavik, where they hire a rugged outdoorsman by the name of Hans Bjelke to take them up the
Hans
mountain.
Barky.
That's a good one. I'm not going to lie. Shut up, though. For days, they traverse into the empty caverns of the volcano Snæfellsjökull, which is a real volcano in Iceland, but today it's really only remembered as being part of this book. Anyway, as the trio travels further and further into the Earth's crust,
It's cuter when they're dogs.
Yeah, I get it. Axel and the professor debate over things like atmospheric studies and geological surveys, because this is still very much a Jules Verne novel, and he wants you to learn something, even if it'll all get disproven in like 30 years' time.
As they're talking, they're sniffing butts.
Why?
Because they're dogs.
All right. Well, eventually, the crew runs into an underground spring, and following the water vein, come across an entire underwater ocean. Our three heroes manage to scrap together a raft made from wood that seems almost petrified. And as the group... What?
I'm just imagining them building the raft and they're like, oh, that's a good stick.
And as the group doggy paddles out to sea, they try to guess what countries they're passing from below, coming to the conclusion that they're below the United Kingdom itself. And it's while they're on this journey that they're nearly thrown asunder by a plesiosaur and an ichthyosaur in a battle to the death. Quote, two liquid columns rose to a vast height above the level of the sea, into which they fell with a terrific crash, waking up the echoes of that awful place. We stood still, surprised, stupefied, terror-stricken at the sight of this group of fearful marine monsters, more hideous in the reality than in my dream. They were of supernatural dimensions. The very smallest of the whole party could with ease have crushed our raft and ourselves with a single bite. Eventually, our crew was thrown to the shores of an ancient animal graveyard, where they find the remains of pterodactyls, mastodons, and yes, even a man. And yet, as they venture further into the petrified forest, they come across something that no one was expecting. Quote, 14 feet high, covered with coarse hair of a blackish brown, the hair on the arms, from the shoulder to the elbow joints pointing downwards, while that from the wrist to the elbow pointed upwards, it's advanced. Its arms were as long as its body, while its legs were prodigious. It had thick, long, and sharply pointed teeth, like a mammoth saw. It struck its breast as it came on, smelling and sniffing, reminding me of the stories we read in our early childhood of giants who ate the flesh of men and little boys. Suddenly it stopped. My heart beat wildly, for I was conscious that, somehow or other, the fearful monster had smelled me out and was peering about with its hideous eyes to try and discover my whereabouts.
Sounds like a family reunion for me.
My reading, which as a rule is a blessing, but which on this occasion seemed momentarily to prove a curse, told me the real truth. It was the ape gigans, the antediluvian gorilla. Basically, they find a 14-foot man with multiple heads who watches over a party of mastodons like a shepherd. Jules Verne found early inspiration in the works of Edgar Allan Poe, and a lot of his early work ends with these cosmic horrors that really show that. Anyway, once the crew sees this, they of course run back to the boat and row back to where they came from. Unfortunately, their little raft is sucked into a whirlpool, which acts like a black hole, transporting them out the top of the volcano Stromboli in Sicily. The trio's writings about their adventures go on to receive much acclaim, where everyone gets famous, and no one tries to think about the terrifying race of multi-headed giants that lurk beneath the earth. The end.
Yay!
How do you like it?
They all had a doggy biscuit.
What? A what headed?
I'm still thinking of them as dogs. One's a German Shepherd. One is, of course, a Jack Russell Terrier in honor of the OG Wishbone. I don't know what the other one is. Maybe a Golden Retriever.
Otto, I think, is more of like a, I don't know, something like a Malamute.
You're right. He's more of like a mountain
boy.
dog.
Yeah, he's like Burmese mountain dog or something.
Yeah.
Now, Jules Verne...
The nephew was the terrier.
No, well, of course.
Yeah.
Jules Verne would... Well, okay. No, I would say German Shepherd for Otto, the guy that they fucking get. Or what's his name, Otto? It doesn't matter. But either way, like, the guy that they hire has to be sturdy. But an uncle dog is always going to be like a Saint Bernard, you know?
Really?
Like, oh, we're going to the volcano. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, Jules Verne would actually implement several life experiences into this work. An adventure brought on by mysterious runes was inspired by Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Thank you. By Edgar Allan Poe's short story, The Gold Bug. The locations, although based in Iceland, were inspired by Verne's trip with his friends to Scotland. And the science of the Earth's crust, while now largely disproven, was inspired by Humphrey Davy's theories on geochemistry. Verne's publisher Hetzel was actually in the middle of publishing a book of Humphrey Davy's, so either introduced Jules Verne to Davy or handed over the research to Jules Verne himself. But again, this made Verne seem like some sort of scientific genius who is wasting his time writing fiction. As ever, though, Verne was more interested in the quick advancements of science happening around him than he was in doing any explorations himself. In particular, he was fascinated by the possibility of human flight. And so was Felix Nadar and the rest of the Society for the Encouragement of Aerial Locomotion by Means of Heavier Than Air Machines, which possibly still just consisted of Felix Nadar and Jules Verne. Either way, their long discussions on the topic brought up a debate in what they thought it would take to send a man to the moon. Believe it or not, this topic seemed to start with a conversation about the American Civil War, of all things.
What?
Apparently, technology for bigger and badder cannons were being implemented during the war, and so the method of launching a man out of a cannon just seemed feasible to them. It just seems like they absolutely were introducing liquor during their conversations there at Seal Mom. Now, the result was Jules Verne's next novel, published the next year in 1865. His classic, From the Earth to the Moon, or, in its more formal title, From the Earth to the Moon, a direct route in 97 hours, 20 minutes. I don't think that was correct, though.
I like that he has it down to the minute, though.
I calculated it. Now, our story begins at the Baltimore Gun Club, where a bunch of men debate on whether or not you could shoot a man to the moon if you put him in a gun big enough. Unfortunately, this is mostly what conversations with my friends at the bars are like.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately, this is what the entire book is about. It's about
shooting men.
No, it's about constructing the cannon itself and the shell that they would put the man in. And then, like, the very last chapter is them actually firing the goddamn thing and sending 3 dudes into space. It was like Verne just wrote down his formulas for how it could possibly be done and then forgot to actually get his characters to, get from the Earth to the moon. I'm not a big fan of this one, if you could tell. But I guess enough people were, because this is highly regarded as like a Jules Verne classic, and he wrote a sequel 4 years later, so...
Didn't they make a movie?
Fucking probably. If you're thinking of...
you told me that, and then the Smashing Pumpkins referenced it in the one music video. And when I was younger, that shit kind of freaked me out. The jumping guys on the
the little demons and shit. Yeah,
and I'm just
it
there
is fucking
enjoying
weird.
The song, and then seeing those guys and getting freaked out. Like, what the fuck is that?
But I don't.
Grade school me like, oh no.
If there was a better time for you to not listen to the Smashing Pumpkins, that probably would have been it. But I don't want to give the impression that Jules Verne is a bad writer here. He actually has great prose. It's just that as far as stories go, he sometimes get like a little too focused on the science aspect of his science fiction. And I feel that I can accurately tell you, if you're reading a Jules Verne novel and you don't like it from the beginning, don't fucking finish it. I never ran into a Jules Verne story where it was somehow miraculously saved by its third act. It's either consistently great or consistently subpar. But I do think he's a great writer. For instance, I loved this passage from his 1874 novel, Adventures in the Land of the Behemoth, which I do recommend. Quote, "After their departure, the Bushmen's predictions were found to be entirely realized. All was demolished, and the soil was brown and bare. Every branch was stripped to utter nakedness. It was like a sudden winter settling in the height of summer, or like the dropping of a desert into the midst of a land of plenty. The Oriental proverb, which describes the devastating fury of the Osmanlis, might justly be applied to these locusts. Where the Turk has passed, the grass springs up no more." Anyway, Verne's popularity grew as a household name, and Hetzel knew it. he began re-releasing everything Jules Verne ever wrote under newer, more beautiful editions. He titled Verne's books as if they were from a series, with a big banner on the top of each cover declaring them Voyages Extraordinaires. Hetzel and Verne would continue this formula for success by working very closely for each book. Verne would write out the big ideas, and Hetzel would give him edits to make the book more consumer-friendly. For instance, Jules Verne wasn't a Christian, he was a deist. And Hetzel wasn't Christian, he was an atheist. But he still insisted that Verne implement Christian values into his books. Why? So moms would be more likely to approve their kids reading them rather than simply seeing them as nonsense.
Using empathy for business.
Goddamn right. And it worked. Jules Verne was finally making a living as an author for the first time in his life.
How old was he?
Unfortunately, what Jules Verne really wanted was to be taken seriously as an artist. And in his day, that never really happened. People knew who he was, sure, and they liked his novels. But no matter how famous he became, he was typecast as a children's author, which honestly isn't fair. His stories have fantastical elements, sure, but they can be enjoyed by people of all ages. And he was coming up with scientific hypotheses that would be proven true outside of his own lifetime.
Was he coming up with them, or was he just getting sneak peeks at other people's notes?
I know that's...
You literally just said he hung out with a lot of scientists.
But I think he was coming up with a lot of his own shit, too. Like, he did come up with, like, verified things, at least verified in their own day, but he was coming up with hypotheses for things, I think, because he valued himself as a scientist, even though he wasn't one. However, high society authors in his day looked down on him, quote-unquote high society. In fact... there was this prestigious council.
Doesn't write enough about fucking cousins.
There was this prestigious council called the Académie Française, which is basically just a club that, if you're part of it, shows you are a true French author. It's like getting to sit on the Jedi Council. Well, Jules Verne applied several times, and unfortunately, they rejected his application just as much. As Jules would say in his later years, quote, "The great regret of my life is that I have never taken any place in French literature." I think a big reason for this was something that would happen during his day. His books were very popular, but the highest selling editions were the ones that were abridged. Now, I don't know if Hetzel was doing this himself, or if he sold the rights to other publishers, or if this all came from bootleg copies of Jules Verne's novels, but publishers began taking out all the science-y bits, because admittedly, they are the most boring bits.
Ooh.
In turn, these condensed novels became something more akin to children's adventure stories.
See, I, of course, would probably be like, oh, that's so dry. But at the same time, you are altering the creator's original intent, and
yes.
I am always against that.
Yes, and however, I will tell you this, though.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that, like, I buy bootleg movies.
Yeah.
Because they're cheaper than getting them on Amazon.
Yeah. Well, and then who even makes, like, physical media these days anymore? That's the issue.
Right, which is mainly my
That's
issue. And to be fair, I'm also getting bootleg copies of fucking movies that have been out of print, and that I'm just like, no, I want more samurai and fucking Yakuza and kaiju movies.
No, that's the argument for bootleggers. Is
right.
They're the only ones who care about preserving lost
Yeah,
media.
yeah. Well, okay.
Anyways,
then that actually destroys my argument, because I was going to say, no, books back then were like the only source of entertainment that you could bring home. It's like, no, of course there's bootleggers.
There would be bootleg bookers.
Of course.
Bootleg bookers.
Leg boogers?
Booklookers.
You know when I let the pee just kind of harden down my leg, and I roll them up, and I say, leg boogers, Anyway, but it was a problem that would continue to happen, cutting out all these sciencey bits, especially in Verne's most famous tale, which just so happened to be his next novel. But hey, at least he was still raking in the dough. It allowed Verne to move his family to better housing in a coastal town called Le Crotoy, as well as purchasing a boat he deemed the Saint Michel after his son. Finally, no one could tell him not to sail. And it was from this that Verne would write...
It's my boat. I'll do what I want.
He would write a new novel in admiration for his old love of the sea, saying, quote, "I'm in love with this assembly of nails and planks the way one is in love with a mistress when one is 20.
Or your cousin.
And I shall be more faithful to my boat." From March of 1869 to June of 1870, Jules Verne would cement his legacy as the godfather of science fiction with 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Goddamn right. Quote, "The year 1866 was signalized by a remarkable incident, a mysterious and puzzling phenomenon which doubtless no one has yet forgotten. But to mention rumors which agitated the maritime population and excited the public mind, even in the interior of continents, seafaring men were particularly excited. Merchants, common sailors, captains of vessels, skippers both of Europe and America, naval officers of all countries, and the governments of several states on the two continents were deeply interested in the matter. For some time past, vessels had been met by an enormous thing, a long object, spindle-shaped, occasionally phosphorescent, and infinitely larger and more rapid in its movements than a whale. The facts relating to this apparition, entered in various logbooks, agreed in most respects as to the shape of the object, or creature in question, the untiring rapidity of its movements, its surprising power of locomotion, and the peculiar life with which it seemed endowed. If it was a cetacean, it surpassed in size of all those hitherto classified in science."
I'm so sorry to say that, like, I knew of these things before I saw the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
I'm not gonna lie, like,
But then there's just like, oh dang, I recognize these names and titles watching the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but then that, like,
you know what's really funny? Not
God.
only do I plan on covering all the people, like, or at least the authors of the stories therein in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but also, like, Alan Moore really did good research into these books too.
I believe it. It's
Yeah.
just too bad the people that made the film.
Oh, dude. Okay, so some people have like said that it's a cult classic. Like when you watch back,
No,
and,
it's
no,
not.
dude, it's still boring as fuck. It's not good. It's not a good movie.
I remember like young me just like, oh, this is okay, I guess.
Yeah.
And then like older me like finding out, no,
Right.
the world panned this movie. And then I'm like bored one day and I put it on like, is it that bad? Oh, baby,
Dude,
it's
right? No,
bad.
trust me. We like bad movies. I don't know how you felt about the '90s Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando Island of Dr. Moreau. I fucking loved it.
Yeah, no, there's
It
fun. I
was
get it.
so
There's
much
fun, bad,
Yeah,
and
it
then
was
there's
terrible.
just
It's such a good movie.
No,
That movie though, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Fuck.
wasn't that
Fuck,
Sean
that's-
Connery's last movie?
I think technically he did something before that, but that's still never going to quell the hurt in my heart about Dennis Hopper's last movie being that terrible animated wolf movie, Alpha and Omega. And that was his last Wolf.
Woof.
So, ships around the world have run into a mysterious beast, one that's supposedly bigger than any whale, faster too, and disappears with no evidence of it having
Giant
ever
squid.
been there. We're getting there.
Woo!
The U.S. government decides to do what it does best and shoehorn itself into anything that doesn't concern them. It is Professor Aronnax, our hero, who's tasked with accompanying the search party aboard their ship, the USS Abraham Lincoln, and their captain, strangely a real person named David Farragut. Captain Farragut served in the War of 1812 against the British when he was just 11 years old. I scalped my first man. And when he was an adult, he brought Union control against the Confederates down the Mississippi River all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. So he's fucking knows it. So it's he and the USS Abraham Lincoln that runs into the mysterious beast off the coast of Japan after nearly 5 months of searching. Captain Farragut attacks it with cannon fire, and Aronnax, his faithful manservant, which most of his stories seem to have, and the ship's harpooner are all thrown from the ship when the monster sprays a powerful beam of water that damages the ship. As the USS Abraham Lincoln sails away in fright, the sea beast breaks through the water upon our 3 castaways, but then a hatch opens. The beast, it turns out, is a gigantic submarine. 8 sailors take the men inside. They're locked in a cell, believing themselves to be waiting for execution, yet the food they're served is more than could be expected for any prisoner's meal. Quote, "Amongst the dishes which were brought to us, I recognized several fish delicately dressed, but of some, although excellent, I could give no opinion, neither could I tell to what kingdom they belonged, whether animal or vegetable. As to the dinner service, it was elegant and in perfect taste. Each utensil, spoon, fork, knife, plate, had a letter engraved on it, with a motto above it, of which this is an exact facsimile. Mobilis and mobili. N."
Bloobity boobity boo baba.
Shut up, you're ruining it.
God, what was that? The magic
The
phrase
magic word
from
in
the fall. Googly.
Googly, be gone. Yeah.
Moobly, moobly,
Oh,
moobly,
man,
be gone.
I fucking primed that for 4K. I'm so excited for that to come get delivered. It's such a good movie. And the next day, the men are greeted by the ship's commander, but not to enact any sort of friendship. He threatens our heroes, telling them that since he was attacked by their ship, he therefore shall rightly see these men as a hostile threat. Because of this, he says that he can do with them whatever he like. He can even stop. No, he's not fucking them. There's got to be Jules Verne fucking AU out there on porn.
Of course there is.
No, I mean like on Pornhub. There's got to be.
Jesus.
He can even abandon them in the open water where he found them, should he choose to do. In Aronnax, he tells the man, quote, "It might be the right of a savage, but not that of a civilized man." To which the man replies, "I am not what you call a civilized man. I have done with society entirely, for reasons which I alone have the right of appreciating. I do not therefore obey its laws, and I desire you never to allude to them before me again." Kind of hurt. The captives agree to their new captain's conditions, and Aronnax asks the man how he wishes to be identified. "I am nothing to you but Captain Nemo. And you and your acquaintance..." Fuck, hang on.
Maybe say it normal.
No, it's okay. I got this. "I am nothing to you but Captain Nemo, and you and your companions are nothing to me but the passengers of the Nautilus." The name Nemo is Latin for no one, by the way, which just adds to his sexiness.
Still imagining like him as like Jack Russell Terrier. That's how I'm reading the Odyssey, to be honest.
The Wishbone version, or?
No, I'm reading an actual
You're
like
reading the
grown
Odyssey,
up
but
Odyssey translation, but I'm still imagining it as if it were a Wishbone book. So
isn't that kind of weird how the
Odysseus
story
is the
opens
dog.
up with this dog fucking a woman for the last 10 years? You freak.
No, I just replace it with cuddling.
God, you're sad. So although Captain Nemo greets them with...
Odysseus just rolls on his back and Circe rubs his belly.
So although Captain Nemo
Scratch behind those ears.
greets them with threats, I almost said treats, greets them with threats, all 3 of our heroes are treated with the utmost respect. The ship has a ginormous library, is littered with treasures found on the ocean floor.
Because he likes to pick up sticks.
And they even make their own cigars made from some sort of seaweed.
Oh,
That actually sounds kind of dope.
They got arts and crafts.
Above all, the Nautilus is powered completely by electricity. Remember, that was a really incredible idea back then. Anyway, the rest of the book is fairly episodic, exploring underwater forests, the sunken city of Atlantis, and an expedition to the South Pole. All while Captain Nemo seems to lose his mind a little more as time goes on. Yes?
Is this still being published, like, episodically? Excuse me, like, in the magazine?
In the magazine?
It's not, like, published as one book
You know what?
in its entirety?
That's a great question. Anyway, his ultimate
Fuck
goal.
you.
No, it was published episodically
Okay.
for about a year-ish.
All right. I'm just curious.
It's Captain Nemo's ultimate goal to fund revolutions across the world with the riches he finds at the bottoms of the sea.
Hell yeah.
All in the name of some just unknown quest for revenge. But what everyone really remembers...
It's against the system.
Honestly, yes.
Fuck yeah.
What everyone really remembers about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea...
Squid.
Fight with the giant squids.
Yeah.
And yes, it is squids, plural.
Wow.
I think the idea that the Nautilus just goes up against just like one big squid is from the 1954 Disney movie. I wouldn't know. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
But either way, when
unfortunately, I've only seen the only adaptation of a Captain Nemo I've ever seen is The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
League of okay, yeah.
I have no idea if Wishbone ever did 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
I want to see Wishbone do Blood Meridian. But anyway, when a squid gets caught in the ship's rudders, the men have to go topside and fight these motherfuckers off with hatchets. One of the bastards even reaches inside the hatch and snatches a dude out. Quote, I looked in my turn and could not repress a gesture of disgust. Before my eyes was a horrible monster worthy to figure in the legends of the marvelous. It was an immense cuttlefish, being 8 yards long. Don't give me that look. I know it's called a cuttlefish, but it doesn't cuddle. It swam crossways in the direction of the Nautilus with great speed, watching us with its enormous staring green eyes. Its 8 arms, or rather feet, fixed to its head, that have given the name of cephalopod to these animals, were twice as long as its body, and were twisted like the Fury's hair. It's awesome, but there's not really like a whole lot to say about this scene, honestly. It's not like they were writing out fight choreography back then. It just kind of happens. It's kind of short. Well, the book ends when the Nautilus is hunted down once more by the USS Abraham Lincoln, and Captain Nemo gets more crazed than ever. During a planned escape by our 3 castaways, their lifeboat is struck up in the middle of a maelstrom, and any fighting that may have happened between the Nautilus and the USS Abraham Lincoln are unknown, as Aronnax loses consciousness and misses the whole thing. Aronnax closes the story by basically saying, so where did the Nautilus go? Who was Captain Nemo? What is the fate of me and these men as we lie stranded in Norway? I don't know.
I love it. I love how you can just tell he was like, you know what? I'm tired and I'm on to the next thing. I want to learn about rocks now instead of the ocean.
Anyway, my new book, Pigeons. Yeah.
So anyway, they just took a nap at the end.
Yeah, pretty much. The story was a hit from the very beginning, and both Verne and Hetzel...
Not at the end.
Yeah. Both Verne and Hetzel knew that it would be. However, they equally wanted control over the story, which would cause quite a bit of friction 7 years into their partnership. Verne wanted Captain Nemo to be some Polish guy whose parents were killed by Russians during a revolt, with the end goal of taking revenge on the entirety of Russia. But Hetzel was like, you can't make Nemo hate Russians, dude. Those guys make up a chunk of our sales. How about you make him fight against, like, the slave trade or something? To which Verne wrote Hetzel, quote, if I can't explain his hatred, I won't. I'll say nothing about the reasons for his hatred, about his former life, his nationality, and so on, and if necessary, I'll change the ending. But to suppose for a moment that Nemo was living as he does out of hatred for slavery and to rid the seas of slave ships, which no longer exist, would be wrong-headed in my opinion. You say that what he does is a moral infamy. I refute that. Again, remember what the original idea for the book was all about. A Polish aristocrat whose daughters have been raped, whose wife has been hacked to death, whose father has been tortured and murdered, whose friends have died in Siberia, and whose nationality is due to vanish from Europe under the tyranny of Russians. If that man has not the right to sink Russian frigates wherever he finds them, vengeance is just an empty word.
But slaves are okay.
In his situation, I would sink them without remorse. Anyone who does not feel as I do on this issue can never have known what it is to hate. I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
But I also do think, now that I'm rereading this, I think he was immensely influenced by the Count of Monte Cristo. Now, we have not covered Alexandre Dumas as of yet, but the Count of Monte Cristo is basically about three guys fucking over the narrator of the story. But when the narrator escapes his impossible situation, he doesn't lead a vengeance tale of, I'm going to kill these three guys. His story is essentially, I'm not just going to kill them. I'm going to kill their aunts, their uncles, their fucking nephews, the dogs in their village. I'm going to kill everybody. They're fucking prostitutes. I'm going to kill them. Like, and so I get what here, like, it sounds like he's trying to do that version of the story. Like, you know what I mean?
Like, he wants to make
his own
really big hater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which honestly, it's a
the
great
most hatering hater that ever was.
I love the Count of Monte Cristo, and he is for sure the world's biggest hater in literature.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Now, Jules Verne and
I vibe with
Hetzel.
that.
Honestly, hey, I know you don't.
It's
you
in
don't
my
read
genetics, apparently.
to be a hater.
Yeah, my mom was like talking about her mother's side of the family. My grandmother on my mom's side, sweetest old lady. But apparently the rest of her family, biggest haters. They will talk shit.
What, from Lola's side?
Yeah, from Lola Seling's side, it's just, you know, there's nothing but the biggest haters.
No shit. Oh.
Yeah, just
because Lola
God.
Seling was sweet.
Oh, you weren't there. You weren't okay.
No, because this was during
no.
your France trip, more than likely.
Yeah, no. She was telling me and my sister and my cousin about it. Just like, oh, yeah, you know, your Lola's sister was just, you know, they're just sitting there like, dang, that dog is so ugly over there in the neighbor's yard. And Lola looks out like, there's no dog there. It's just the neighbor. And she's like, yeah, I know, bitch is ugly. For no fucking reason, apparently. Yeah. They're just the biggest haters, just mean.
It's so funny because, like, the words in Tagalog are, like, more, like, impactful. Mm-hmm. But when you do translate, like, Tagalog insults into English, they do sound like old maritime type insults. They're always just like, look at that scurvy cur over there. You know, like, it is always like that.
Yeah.
Well, Jules Verne and Hetzel, they went back and forth on this whole disagreement about Captain Nemo enough times that Verne decided to just make Nemo's backstory just completely ambiguous. Like, the reader can make his own backstory whatever they wanted. The tensions Hetzel and Verne faced with each other during the writing of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea changed the way they'd work together forever. Before this, Verne took Hetzel's recommendations almost like a command, seeing Hetzel as some sort of surrogate father figure. Now, he was almost completely...
Because his real dad didn't approve of him following his dreams.
Well, you know, now he was almost completely resistant to Hetzel's ideas, just like he was with his real father, so I don't know. Now,
you see a little bit of success, and then you get a big head.
Now, one thing...
Now you're too good to write about Jack Russell Terriers.
One thing that still confuses a lot of people to this day about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is the title. A league is about 2 to 3 miles long. To put that number somewhere in the middle, let's call it 2.5. So it's 20,000 times 2.5, which is 50,000 miles. That's over twice as big as the Earth. So when they talk about going 20,000 leagues under the sea, they're not talking about just going straight down. They're saying that's how far they traveled over the course of the book.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. The confusion about the title was actually spoofed on Saturday Night Live back in the 90s, where Kelsey Grammer plays Captain Nemo, and he's trying to get Mike Myers and Rob Schneider to understand the measurements. Quote, the entire crew of the Nautilus, all 20,000 leagues of them, searched for Captain Nego for over 20,000 leagues and nights. 20,000 leagues later, they still hadn't found a trace of Captain Nemo, the man they called Old 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Okay.
That feels like it was written by Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's often misreported that Jules Verne actually created the concept of the submarine for this book, which is just plain incorrect. Rudimentary submarines were first used all the way back in 1620, and modern ones had even been used during the Civil War, the American Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Instead,
remember that.
Jules Verne was inspired in his design of the Nautilus by a French submarine he'd seen at the
That was a
1867.
National Treasure plot point.
Was it?
Yeah, like the sequel or
It
something.
probably was. They should do more of those. Like I
They
know
were fun.
Yeah, they kind of suck ass, but they're still fun. Like
yeah.
who gives a shit?
Yeah. It doesn't need to be like I don't know. It's
Dude,
like everybody expects popcorn films to be
Right.
art, and it's like, are you an idiot?
Exactly.
Did you not read the label?
Dude, I haven't even seen the last Indiana Jones movie. I already know that another National Treasure would be more fun than that.
I want
It's gonna suck.
It's just a good old fashioned adventure
It's
movie.
a Nicolas Cage
Fucking
movie.
hell.
Fucking clean the shit
We've
out
got
of your
to
butt.
steal the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, fucking. So instead, Jules Verne was inspired in his design of the Nautilus by a French submarine he'd seen at the 1867 Exposition Universelle called the Plunger. I'm sure it's like plongeon or some shit like that, but still. It pretty much means exactly what you think.
The Plunger.
'Cause it
20,000
goes-
leagues under the toilet, you bitch.
Into the ass water.
Ooh.
He even named the Nautilus after an existing American submarine built in 1800. But I will say, the innovations he made for the submarine in this book were, again, way ahead of their time. Like using ballast tanks to move the ship up and down, as well as electric propulsion. That was all his idea. One funny thing about Verne's influence of the Nautilus, however, shows evidence in Captain Nemo's motto, mobilis in mobile, which in Latin means moving within a moving element.
Googly.
You see, there was a commander of a Civil War era submarine called the CSS Alabama. Not USS, as that would stand for United States ship, but
Yeah.
CSS for Confederate States ship. Anyway, the CSS Alabama was commanded by a man named Raphael Semmes. And Semmes was from a town in Alabama called Mobile. Mobilis in Mobile? Huh? And Captain Nemo had parts of the Nautilus built in Mobile. Semmes was even branded a pirate by Abraham Lincoln and pursued by none other than Captain Farragut. Nemo was branded a pirate by Captain Farragut and pursued by the USS Abraham Lincoln. Semmes once took shelter in an empty volcano to hide from his enemies. Nemo took shelter in an empty volcano to do the same. Semmes had his last stand in the town of Cherbourg, France. Nemo was said to have battled in Cherbourg, France. Coincidence?
We have to steal the Declaration of Independence to
We
prove
gotta suck off
the
Nick
innocence
Cage
of John Wilkes Booth's family. Because I think that was the fucking plot of the second one or
I think
something
Abraham
like
Lincoln's head just did that. Even the squid encounter was said to have been based on a real event as well. On November 17th, 1861, the French ship Alecton sailed out near the Spanish Canary Islands on its way to Guyana. It wasn't long before a lookout called for an odd shape under the water, and it was swimming right for them. Of course, sailors have had their rumors about sea monsters since forever, but the scientific community wouldn't even acknowledge the existence of the giant squid for another 17 years, when the body of one washed up on the shores of Thimble Tickle Bay in 1878.
Thimble Tickle Bay. Oh my! Hey, were people eating squid back then?
Fucking probably.
Do you think giant squid would taste like regular squid?
That's a good question, but I do think so. I feel like it would. Why wouldn't it? But I think that, probably somebody would... You'd have to definitely fuck with the temperature and shit like that.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, it's giant. Of course the cooking time's going to be different.
I don't know. Do you think a man tastes different than pig?
Not
You want to
if they're a
find
cop.
out? Duncan. Now, we wouldn't even have live footage of a giant squid until 2002.
Woo!
So when the captain of the Alecton saw this giant squid underneath the water...
Wait, are we still talking about a book, or is this just current events in his life?
This is current events, yeah.
Okay.
He saw a giant squid under the water, and he had one thought on his mind.
Tell Jules Verne.
We gotta shoot it. His men fired muskets and harpoons into the water, which seemed to have little effect against the beast. But eventually, the crew managed to lasso the squid's fins at the top of its head, which unfortunately just yanked the fucking top of its head right the fuck off before the creature just swam away. Absolutely died like half an hour afterwards. Overall, I'd say this is a story about a curious little fishy coming to see what the boat was all about, and then a group of fucking guys just attacked it and dismembered it. But the rumors of their encounter were much different than what really happened. For years afterwards, the stories of the Alecton's run-in with the fearsome kraken seemed to permeate throughout the ports, with Jules Verne himself being a believer in their stories. Now, believe it or not, we've only covered the first 7 years of Jules Verne's career. This was a man who released at the rate of about a book a year, so we aren't going to cover them all, even though there are some real winning titles out there like Michael Strogoff or Dick Sand, a captain at 15. However, the man was responsible for a lot of classic science fiction. So join us next episode as we go over the remainder of Jules Verne's life, along with some other of his classic works. My sources today: Jules Verne, a biography by Jean-Jules Verne, translated by Roger Greaves, Taplinger Publishing Company, Inc., 1976. Paris in the 20th Century by Jules Verne, translated by Richard Howard, Random House, Inc., 1996. Ugh. Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne, translated by Richard Baldick. E.P. Dutton and Company. Shh, he's a real person. You can't make fun of him. He might still be alive. And Company, Inc., 1970. From the Earth to the Moon by Jules Verne, translated by Edward Roth. Dover Thrift Edition, 2019. Adventures in the Land of the Behemoth by Jules Verne, translator unknown, Henry L. Shepard and Company, Second American Edition, Variant A, 14,000, 1874. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne, Watermill Classic, 2001. How do you feel?
I want to watch an adventure movie now.
You're jet lagged. I'm, Saturday. It's only 9:30. It's less than
Let's
that.
watch an adventure movie.
We don't have fucking National Treasure, which kind of sucks.
Oh, no, we can. Because you know what? I can mirror my phone screen on our TV because I got Disney Plus there.
Oh,
and they have both the national. They both have both the National Treasures.
That's right.
We can watch.
Are you stealing Disney Plus from your sister?
Hell yeah, motherfuckers!
Does she have Apple Plus?
I don't know.
Okay, I feel like she would.
I feel like because she's got Apple
she's basic,
phones.
But I feel like I really want to see the Monarch show.
Yeah,
I really want to see that. There's also supposed to be a Beastie Boys like mini docu-series on there and shit.
I'm down for that.
I know.
You know
There's Windows Bay, whatever the fuck it is. People are like going apeshit about it. I don't know anything about it, but it's like a comedy horror. And it's supposed to be really good.
To a TV show again. We're really bad at watching TV shows.
I know, dude. I'm not good with TV.
I know. It's too bad because that first season of Scream Queens was great.
I know.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
There's a young Glenn Powell there.
I always forget. Is Glenn Powell a man or a woman?
He's Chad Radwell.
Oh, okay.
The bimbo.
Now, who am I thinking of that has a manly name but is also a woman? Is it another Glenn? I guess it doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Anyway, until next time.